Hey guys, so today I'm going to be doing a quick demo on web pages using HTML and CSS on StackBlitz. So as you can see here, I have the HTML file, a CSS file, and over here I have the website, which shows me what my final product is going to look like as you're coding, which can be really helpful. So right here, first things, let's talk about this. I have linked my CSS sheet to the HTML document because this is really important to make sure that the CSS file knows which elements we are talking about and how we want to edit them. Next, the next thing that we're going to focus on today is the div tag. So as you can see throughout this, I have actually split up and organized my code into different div tags. So over here, I have um, the headshot. It says ID headshot, classes image. Over here, it says ID is bio, classes section. So, and here we even have like a nested one. So as you can see, we just put the div tag within another div tag. So what exactly does this mean? An ID is something that gives each element on the website a different identifier. So if we were to edit them individually in the CSS file, we need a way to identify them. Exactly, right. So that's why it's called the ID. And we also have a class. So them to be a while we want them to have their own individual name, it's also very helpful to group them. So in my website, I just decided to group them by section and class. So section and image. So for all the images, I've given them the class IMG, which stands for image, and over here I put section. So this is headshot. The picture of my lovely friend here is the class's image. But down here, this whole green box class is section. But if you looked at the nesting that I was talking about here, there is another div tag which has the class image, which has the ID August. So over here, you can see that it has its own div tag and it has a class within a class. So while this image is in section, it's still, you can still access the image itself and treat it as a member of the image class, which you'll see what I'm talking about once you go to the CSS file. And another new thing I wanted to talk about is this lovely link right here. So if you have a really long web page or you have multiple pages, it'll be really helpful to hyperlink the web page to another page or another section. So here I have the bio section and the hobby section and the movie section. So for example, if I want to go to hobbies and I click it, it just automatically takes me there. If I keep scrolling and want to go back to the top of the page, I just click biography and it'll move me up. So that's what we did in this line here using the A tag and href. And within that, you guessed it, I put in the ID for that's in the div tag. So that again allows us to uniquely identify it not only within the CSS, but also in the HTML file too. So that's what we have here. And the rest of it is like pretty much like I have like replicas of like each of the sections, but with different information in it. So you can feel free to organize it however you want. You totally don't have to do it the way I did, but be creative and do whatever makes sense. And remember, you want your code to be as organized as possible. It's a good practice. So think of something along that lines. Next, let's look at the style.css file. So you heard me throwing a lot of words like the div tag, class. This will all be really useful in our CSS file. So here we have the body. So as you know, the body is a whole background. It has everything, all the elements within the body. So what it's doing automatically is changing all of the fonts and all of the images within the body. So here we actually don't really have anything changing the images too much, but we have the background color on the edge, which is like this eggshell color. We added a margin. We also changed all the fonts to Georgia Serif. Personally, I picked that font. There's so many fonts you can use. Have fun with that. Next, we did H1 adjustment. So the only header I have here for H1 is the one that says all about other. So I've made that this color and I've also aligned it to the center. Next, we're going to look at the section. So this is dot section. If that sounds familiar, it is actually the class that we used in our div tag. And so here we have three different sections. So what this is going to do is in all those sections, it's going to edit them. So all I choose to do here is add a little bit of padding, margin, and border. And the thing you can really see is that all three of these boxes look the exact same shape and the same border. So it looks really uniform. But I also made them all three different colors. And that's right, I use the ID tag because that uniquely identifies each of them. And I was able to make all of them a different color despite them all being within the same class. So that can be really helpful for making things look neat and uniform, but also making them look unique and adding your own like colors and touch to it. And lastly, down here, I have the .img, which is another class that I used within the div tag. And I talked about it earlier about how it was nested within the other section. So like I said, some of the photos are nested and some of them are not nested. But as you can see, they all have this lovely black border around them. I know probably not the best choice in color, but it's really easy to tell that all the images are formatted pretty similarly, even though they have different dimensions and colors and stuff within them, right? And I also have IDs for each of the images. While I chose not to change each image individually and I just kind of wanted to edit them based on the image class, you totally can do that. Like you can make images circular, you can add a border, a different border around them. There's a lot of things you can do, but this is just a simple example. So that is all I have for the video today. I hope this was helpful and gave you some inspiration. Have fun and be creative with your web pages.